Welcome to the Tell Me Something Good podcast, ranked by the International Association of Awesome Podcasts as the best podcast in the history of podcasts. Wait, is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Anyway, seeking to shine a light on all that is good in an ever-darkening world of negativity. Here's your host, Clint Swindall.
Hey everybody, I'm Clint Swindall, and this is the Tell Me Something Good podcast, the show that is all about creating a more positive world by overcoming negativity. It is my goal each episode to engage your mind, encourage your heart, or enlighten your soul. I am happy you're here. This is episode number 17 of the Tell Me Something Good podcast, entitled Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. Brought to you by a brand new sponsor, Texas Pepper Jelly, the home of some of the greatest products to take your kitchen game to a whole new level. From their line of seasonings and rubs, barbecue sauce, and the original rib candy rib sauce and pepper jellies, you'll find everything you need to become the hero of your household. Texas Pepper Jelly products help some of the best competition cookers in the U.S. to win. If you're new to the podcast, then you may not know that I am the chief cook of a competition barbecue team, and our team has enjoyed our fair share of success. We use Texas Pepper Jelly products to help us win, and they can take your backyard barbecue game to a whole new level. Check them out at texaspepperjelly.com. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, although I have to admit I'm a little tired as I record this podcast. I'm a little tired because I had a dog that decided to wake up at 3 o'clock this morning. It took her a long time to decide to go back to sleep, and as a result, it took my wife and I a while to go back to sleep as well. Those of you who are dog lovers get it. You know who you are, and most people around you know it too. You see, dog lovers are easy to spot because every item of clothing they own, no matter how clean, is always covered in dog hair. And I speak from experience. I can pick up clothes from the dry cleaners, pack them for a trip across the country, and dog hair will inevitably appear on a suit just prior to walking into a meeting or onto a stage. Any dog hair on my clothes would belong to one of our two dogs, Bacon or Banjo. One weighs about 70 pounds and the other about 80 pounds, and they both have very distinct personalities. Banjo, well, she's very laid back. Not concerned about anything but the FedEx guy. I'm certain this poor guy is convinced she would eat him if he got close to the front door. I'm not convinced he's wrong. Now, while Bacon would eat a delivery person in a heartbeat as well, she is not laid back when it comes to sounds. Loud sounds. She doesn't do well in storms. In fact, she can warn us a storm is in the area long before any good weatherman. Since we live in the Texas Hill Country and don't get much rain, she doesn't get scared very often from the weather. But when she does, she would chew through the sheetrock if she thought there was a safe place on the other side. And for Bacon, storms are just the beginning. She doesn't like gunshots, and she's absolutely terrified of fireworks. So as you can imagine, the fireworks displays over the 4th of July weekend were not fun at the Swindall house. We managed through the night, then got into bed after the majority of the celebrations were over. As we got settled, with Banjo already comfortably in the bed, we looked over and saw two eyes staring at us as if to say, "Move over, I'm coming up." Although we're fine with 150 pounds of dogs sharing some space on the bed, it seems their mission is to utilize a dog technique called the roll and stretch, which will allow them to take over the center position on the bed. As a result of fighting for my fair share of the bed with 5 dogs over the past 2 decades, I've developed what seems to be a spinal deformity and walk like a grocery cart that constantly pulls to the right. I needed to get up early and get some things done the next morning, and really needed to get some sleep. Although my experience led me to believe this would not be a good night's sleep since I could still hear fireworks being set off, I gave in. She was scared to death. Banjo was curled up in a small little ball between my wife and I, well, as small a ball an 80-pound dog can make, and Bacon was pacing around the bed. Just as I started to doze off, I heard a noise. No, not that noise. Banjo started to snore at a volume you would not have thought possible from a dog. After a quick nudge, she quieted down and we soon were all asleep. I awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning. I knew it was 4 o'clock because as I opened my eyes, I saw the alarm clock was about 6 inches from my face, and I noticed I was clinging to 4 inches of the bed. The roll and stretch had worked again. As I closed my eyes and began to drift off to sleep, I realized what had awakened me. There was a distinct odor in the air. My eyes were watering. Both of these dogs have the ability to produce an odor that could peel the paint off the wall. I thought someone had thrown a can of tear gas through our bedroom window. That was all it took to regain human control over the bed. Down they went. The next morning I sat outside with a cup of coffee, trying to wake up from a rather restless night. Instead of complaining about not getting enough sleep and staying focused on the bad stuff, I thought about the lessons I had learned and chose to focus on the good stuff, including 1. Be compassionate. It would have been easy to focus on the fact I wanted to get a good night's sleep and told them to go get in their own beds. I can remember as a child running into my mother's room in need of safety after a bad dream. Looking back, I'm sure she had to work the next day, but she never sent me away. She was compassionate, and I encourage you to do the same. Whether it's a child, a pet, or a friend, be compassionate. And 2, adjust your plans. We are fortunate to live up on a hill in a beautiful part of the Texas Hill Country. I'm always amazed at how much money our neighbors spend on fireworks, because it rivals any professional fireworks show you would attend. I would love to sit outside, enjoy the view, and call it a night. It never works out that way with bacon. Not only can we not enjoy the view, we have to deal with a dog that continues to be panicked long after the final sound. And since neither of our dogs realizes that it's not necessary to sleep perpendicular to each other, we spend more time trying to figure out how to get comfortable than actually sleeping. Sometimes you just have to adjust your plans. And 3, protect your pack. I often wonder why we tolerate so many adjustments to our lives because of these critters. Other than the fact dog food and a big bowl of water is considerably cheaper than baby formula and diapers, I have come up with at least 2 reasons. 1, they are like children to us, and like any good parent, you make sacrifices. And 2, in their eyes, we're a pack, and a pack gathers together at night for contentment and safety. Whether you have children, dogs, family, or friends in your pack, protect them, and by all means, provide the contentment and safety that makes them glad they're in your pack. Some people don't understand why dog people give up so much to satisfy their 4-legged friends. Until you've experienced the true friendship of a loyal companion, you won't understand how that friendship makes it all worth a few stray hairs and a curved spine. As I'm recording this podcast, I have one next to my chair, sound asleep, and one chewing on her favorite toy. I wouldn't have it any other way. But hey, what's that smell? Oh, man. I saw something on social media the other day that brought a big smile to my face, and I wanted to share it in this segment called
In Search of the Good Stuff.
As you know, we are in the middle of a presidential election year in the U.S., and for many people that thought is exhausting. Presidents have been criticized for things all the way back to George Washington. Most recently, Republicans complained about decisions made by Barack Obama, and Democrats are complaining about decisions by Donald Trump. In the middle of all the criticism of presidents, current and past, there is one decision made by one president that I think we all can agree was right. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed a presidential proclamation declaring July as National Ice Cream Month. That's right. There was a time when good decisions were made by our political leaders, and it was a bipartisan effort at that. A Democrat senator from Kentucky and a Democrat representative sponsored bills in both houses, and it was signed by a Republican president. And they say Washington can't get anything done. Here's the National Ice Cream Month. Go get you some. Between the bad news about global pandemics, social divides, and political nonsense, we are bombarded by the crud. I've had about enough myself, so it's time for some good news in this next segment called
Good News from Around the World.
Since I shared a story about my dogs from July 4th, I thought I'd share a good news story about someone else's dog from the holiday. Tennessee authorities said a rescue dog became a hero on the 4th of July by alerting her owner to a house fire next door. Jeff LeCates said his 3-year-old rescue dog Rue was barking frantically and unusually at the front door of his home, about 21 miles south of Nashville. It was about 10:45 at night, and when he opened the door to investigate, Rue went flying out the door. The owner followed and discovered his neighbor's house was on fire. LeCates immediately pounded on their door, waking the family of 3 and their pets, who escaped unharmed. He used a garden hose on the fire until firefighters arrived. In a twist of fate, Rue and her owner would have never found each other if not for the woman who lives in the home that caught fire. The woman is a dog groomer and the reason LeCates adopted Rue 15 months earlier. She knew that LeCates lost his German Shepherd and that Rue was in need of a home, and she helped to facilitate the adoption. And then there's this. A nurse in Nebraska is being hailed a hero for stopping to save a life while on the way to her daughter's wedding. Jody Damrow was headed to her daughter Haley's ceremony when she arrived at a 2-car pileup about a mile from her home near the Nebraska-Kansas border. My mom was on her way to my wedding when she witnessed a terrible accident, Haley Cruel said in a Facebook post. Being an ER nurse of 35-plus years, she sprang into action and helped save a life. Damrow kept a woman's airway open while they waited for paramedics to arrive. She also called a life flight helicopter to the scene. Damrow did all this dressed in her long gown for the wedding. People were talking about the lady wearing gloves and a pretty dress who was saving lives, Cruel's post said. Mom said she was just really careful not to get blood on her dress as she knew she had to walk me down the aisle later. Damrow arrived just 10 minutes before the wedding was supposed to start. I'm sorry I'm late, she said. I had to save a life. In a world where so many people are afraid of lawsuits or just so wrapped up in their own lives, that is pretty awesome. And that, my friends, is some good news from around the world. While I wish everything we heard was good news, the reality is it is not. The mainstream media certainly pours it on, and I get that. It's their job. They know we'll pay more attention to bad stuff, so they provide it. Like it or not, they're doing their job. Social media is a whole other story. In this world where so much good exists in the middle of all the bad, so many people find joy in finding and sharing some of the craziest comments. When I see it, I like to share it in this segment called
What Are They Bitching About Now?
The mask or no mask debate continues. I am amazed at the level of disagreement people are having over wearing a mask. Look, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a fan of wearing a mask. I don't like it because it takes away a significant aspect of our communication. Facial expressions. And it's not the most comfortable piece of fashion accessory in the world either. But hey, if I have to give up a little of my personal comfort to make those around me more comfortable and potentially help slow the spread of the coronavirus, I'll do that. But I digress. What I saw on social media made me shake my head. Someone asked if people should be required to wear a mask into a restaurant. Some clown responded it was a form of dictatorship for a restaurant owner to require patrons to wear a mask. Another clown responded that he didn't want some self-appointed tyrant to make the decision for him. And a third clown said a restaurant owner requiring him to wear a mask was an infringement of his First Amendment rights. What? Look, wear a mask in public, don't wear a mask in public, it's your choice. I choose to wear one, but it's up to you to make your decision. However, a restaurant owner requiring someone to wear a mask is not an infringement of anyone's First Amendment rights. Restaurant owners can set the terms of what happens in their restaurants. I've been seeing no shirt, no shoes, no service signs my whole life. Some businesses won't allow me to enter carrying my gun, even though I'm licensed to carry it. My bank certainly won't allow me to walk in wearing a ski mask. It's a private business, and they can require anything they want. Disagree with it if you want, but please don't say it's an infringement of your First Amendment rights. Wow. Just wow. I received a question over at findthegoodinlife.com from a listener after he listened to the Champagne Friday episode last Friday, and I thought I would share it here in this segment called
Ask Clint Anything. 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 Anything.
And here's what it was. Thanks for the quick reminders to celebrate the good stuff on your podcast each Friday. You obviously are a positive guy, and I'm wondering in what ways you consider yourself fortunate. Man, there are so many ways I consider myself fortunate, and there's so many ways to answer that question. I could start with the most obvious things: a roof over my head, reliable transportation in the driveway, clean clothes on my body, food in the fridge, real friends, loving family. Those are the things I think we often overlook if we have them every day. So yes, I consider myself very fortunate to have those things. I was reminded just yesterday of something else I consider myself very fortunate to have: air conditioning. I live in Texas, so I found myself thanking God for air conditioning yesterday. We are experiencing a crazy hot stretch right now, well over 100 degrees most of last week, and forecasted for most of this week. It's Texas. It's July. It's gonna be hot. I always hope the folks who live in the north don't complain in the middle of winter that it's cold, so I choose to not complain in the middle of summer that it's hot. All we can do is try to get someplace that's cool. I am mindful of the fact there are many people who do not have access to the cold air provided by an air conditioner, so I am thankful for that blessing. We had one of our air conditioning units go out last summer, and it was a great reminder what it's like to not enjoy a place to get in out of the heat. To some, it may be small. To me and my bride, we consider ourselves very fortunate to have a place to go to escape the oppressive heat of a Texas summer. All right, everybody, we are about to wrap up. Before I end this episode with a challenge, I want to remind you that this episode of Tell Me Something Good has been brought to you by Texas Pepper Jelly, the home of some of the greatest products to take your kitchen game to a whole new level. From their line of seasonings and rubs, barbecue sauce, and the original rib candy rib sauce and pepper jellies, you'll find everything you need to become the hero of your household. Texas Pepper Jelly products help some of the best competition cookers in the U.S. win, and they can take your backyard barbecue game to a whole new level. Check them out at texaspepperjelly.com. And now, the challenge. Before you come back for the next episode, I challenge you to consider the question I was asked by that listener. In what ways do you consider yourself fortunate? Like me, you could list the obvious things: a roof over your head, food on the table, income to pay the bills. I challenge you to take it deeper and really search for something you may take for granted. Imagine what life would be without it, and be thankful you've been blessed to have it. Well, that's all for today's episode of the Tell Me Something Good podcast. I sure hope you'll join us again next week. In the meantime, be listening for our special episode of Champagne Friday each Friday morning. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you can, leave me a rating and review. We are having a positive impact in people's lives. I'm getting that feedback regularly, and we want to expand our reach. We can do that with your help. By leaving a rating and review, you're providing the social proof some are looking for when deciding where they'll invest their time listening to a podcast. If you have a question for the podcast, you want to share your good stuff, or need to find the links to join us on social media, jump over to findthegoodinlife.com. You'll find all you need right there on the front page. Thanks for listening. Until next week, I'll be praying for God to bless you in mighty ways. Now, get out there and love on somebody.
You've been listening to the Tell Me Something Good podcast. The content of the podcast is meant to engage, encourage, and enlighten you to become more positive. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or replace the personalized care provided by a trained professional. If you're struggling with depression or mental health issues, please reach out to a counselor for diagnosis and treatment. Until next time, be positive, people.